issue, and he mentioned it was a very important issue for him personally. He also mentioned that when Florida passed its registry law, a lot of people went over the border to Georgia, where I guess the law either didn't exist or wasn't as stringent. Kind of explain what happened there, and has that been rectified in recent years, or is it still kind of a problem in some respects?
Yeah, it is a problem in many respects. We have the prescription drug databases in many states, in most states. Florida was one of the latter states, one of the last of the large states to actually develop its own prescription drug database. Georgia is actually a little bit behind Florida. So they did not have their database and their laws completely enacted when Florida passed theirs. So there was that phenomena of people crossing over the border into Georgia initially. The really important thing to note about this issue, though, is that every state that has this type of database needs to be interconnected with the rest of the country. The reason for that is it's very helpful for me as a physician to go to the database and see if a patient who may be a first-time patient in my practice has received these medications, specifically medications of abuse, from other physicians. But if they're coming in from over the border from another state, I have no way of accessing that history. So people can cross back and forth before, be around a border if we don't have interstate connectivity to access those records.
I know that Missouri is far from Florida, but I believe we don't have that in our statutes. In fact, there's been pushback against implementing that. Have you been following that situation at all? Or
I have not followed it in Missouri, but I can tell you from my experience in Florida, there was a lot of pushback in Florida. It took us almost 8 years to get that legislation passed. There are some folks, that believe that there's a danger to patient privacy. I can assure you that that's not the case. The databases are set up to be HIPAA compliant. There's no way that anybody can access them that's not a physician or a pharmacist, except for law enforcement. And law enforcement has to have a pending case to access them, to access it. And it's illegal to access those records without proper authority.
like if you're not a doctor, for example.
Correct.
So.
Correct.